Hi, I'm Joy. I wanted to make this video to introduce you to why I actually made this channel. I made this channel because my life has been a process of finding out who I am authentically and what it is that gives me purpose in life and the freedom to experience that and be authentically joy. The way that I've always learned best, things that make lasting change, have always been from others' experiences. I think as human beings, we want to see how something has helped another person, and so sharing experience is valuable. It always has been to me, and I can see the value in sharing the process that I've gone through in life to help other people. I'm at a place in life that I travel full time, and finding purpose and having a community of people can be challenging as I travel. And I know that a lot of others are in that same position. Maybe you don't travel, but we are, you know, connected through internet and probably more isolated physically than we ever have been in history. And so platforms like this are a great way to share experience, share what works, and just be very real about day to day relationship dynamics and how do you navigate the workplace and personality differences and destructive behaviors, addictions, um, self loathing, self acceptance, depression, suicidal thoughts, um, working on our health, all of those things. Experience is valuable. And so I'm seeking to create a community to share what's worked for me, to help other people, to inspire others, to be introspective and maybe apply some of the same tools and hopefully gain some growth and some joy and some freedom. I love the premise that we're already whole and that in our childhood we gained some behaviors, some beliefs, some ways of being that cover who we are authentically. Everyone growing up has some sort of framework that's put together that says what you want to do and who you are is not okay. You need to listen to other people. And that's certainly what happened to me as I'm a part of the human race. And as an adult, I've spent a lot of my time wondering why I wasn't happy and acting in ways that didn't serve me, developing behaviors and addictions and things that were survival mechanisms to get through that huge sense of uncomfortability that I felt trying to be something that I was not. The American dream, I thought, was what I was supposed to strive for, and I did. And when I got that, the marriage, the home, the cars, the job, all of those things, I wasn't happy and I didn't know why. And I started looking to change, health behaviors and destructive behaviors, quitting smoking and drinking and, using drugs, things like that, that in the past had helped me to cope. And those things really do help in the moment and they hurt in the long run. They help us to survive in the moment, and long term, they create more problems of their own. And I found for me that anytime that I am inauthentic, living in some way that's not really a good fit for me, I'm uncomfortable. And we're supposed to be uncomfortable when we're in a relationship that doesn't really work for us, when we are in a job that really doesn't work for us, when we're behaving in ways that don't serve us, and we're not being honest with ourselves about that. So um, I have learned different tools that I plan to share on this site and already have, um, that helped me to get through those things and to just really share daily in my life about either issues that I have overcome and how I did that, and what's currently going on. As I shared, I travel full time with my husband, and there are challenges with that, and there's great joy and excitement and opportunities for observing myself in ways that I really truly have not been free to do in my life until this point. I started to realize in probably childhood that the way other people wanted me to live life did not work for me. I was depressed as a child, and I really, looking back, had this need for solitude. People would call me an old soul. I always had a wisdom sort of beyond my years, and I would seek out quiet, and I kind of always made myself wrong for that. I lived in a tumultuous household with lots of people and dysfunction, and it was very uncomfortable. And although there was fun and love and all of those things, not everything was hard and bad and all of that. And I really had to pay attention to how I needed to act and, behave, and frameworks that were in place for how you were supposed to please the people that I was with. And I brought that into adulthood, as we do. And so I would, in every situation, assess what I thought others wanted of me and completely give up myself and my own needs to please them, because I decided that was, my survival. So all of that to be said, that's how I started to realize that I needed to carve my own path, because what the expectations were of, bosses, and, that you get a 9 to 5 job and you do A, B, and C, and that makes you successful and happy. And like I said, that did not. And so I started to realize that I needed to follow what it was that was a passion within me and see where that led, and to start to trust myself that what I wanted and needed was going to be revealed to me if I moved in that direction. They say if you leave for a destination, if you wait until all the lights are green to step out the front door, you'll never get there. So as an adult, I had to build trust with myself that I didn't have to look to other people to tell me what my work life needed to look like, what my relationship life needed to look like, what life in general needed to look like for me. That I became clear that I was the only one who could answer that question, whether this worked for me or did not. And so after my second divorce, I decided that I was going to sort of throw all the rules out, and that I was going to try different things that I was drawn to, and be free to decide whether that worked for me or not. I was very unclear. I was in my late 30s and I did not know what part of my life that I had decided was what I wanted and what I had just kind of taken on from society and other people. And so I began to try things and trust myself because I was miserable. I was depressed once again. I had suicidal thoughts. I didn't want to live anymore. And meanwhile, I'm sober, no drug use. I did still struggle with food. That sort of was the only substance left. But when I'm uncomfortable, I can use anything. Sex, food, um, TV, anything to soothe. And so that's been part of the process too, is finding ways that long term add to my growth, that are soothing to me, and applying these ways of looking at, if I was curious about what was going on with me, how would that look? And so I started to do jobs that weren't, they were contract work or freelance work, or, they had a beginning and an end, because I realized that I like space between work to uh, decompress. I'm not a person that can work a 9 to 5 job and be happy. I realized that about myself, that I need to be creative. I need to have time to be very focused. And then I need to have time in between. And so that's what I started to do. I once again, I set out with a desire to sort of think outside the box with what work could look like. And this was back, in the 90s. So, early 2000s. So this was, not something that was terribly, other than just being self-employed, there wasn't a whole lot of flexible work out there, or at least that I knew of. So this decision to try something new and do contract work, I started to see that, wow, I could live in a way that was different than what your typical, society says that you need to do, and the way I was raised. So I went to begin to start to also search, because I've always had a desire to travel, and I didn't really do much traveling. And through looking into that, I realized that I wanted to live a nomadic lifestyle again, outside the box. What would life look like if you never had to go home? And to me, that was appealing. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but that's the theme. I began to carve my own path, and what would that look like for me? And it was exciting, and yet there was also fear that came up. And I just kept moving forward, and as I moved forward, more would be revealed, and things would work out, and I will create another video that goes into each of these topics. But all of this to say that that's how I started to carve my own path, was to try things that I was led to, that I felt curiosity and excitement about. And I learned that when we're excited about something, this energy lifts up, and if we can start to learn to tune into that, then it's sort of like this cosmic treasure hunt, that, the game that you play when you're a kid. Ooh, you're getting warmer. Ooh, you're getting colder. That's how I would start to experience, moving towards something that my soul was excited about, attracted to. And like I said, stumbled and made mistakes along the way, and did things that I thought, ooh, I don't like how that felt. I won't go there again, or I need to pay attention to that. There's something about this appeals to me, but maybe in a different way. So it really helped me to develop this sense of trust in myself, to learn to accept myself more and more. And recently, I've even done a deeper dive into, what does radical self acceptance look like? And I really, in my life today, believe that is the key to it all, to seeing things as they really are, where I am today, and know that the answers are within me, and that there's different tools and ways to kind of excavate that, or tune into that, but that accepting myself exactly as I am in this moment, devoid of judgment, and being curious as to what it is that works for me and doesn't work for me. I've learned to get rid of good and bad. Things are not good and bad, they are what they are. And things have consequences for sure, but nothing is good or bad. It just works for me or it doesn't work for me. And I can learn to take note of that and move towards what works for me. And if I continue to do things that are destructive or don't work for me, I can be curious as to what drives that. And again, part of excavating who I authentically am and discovering processes that remove that which is not me. Kind of like making a sculpture, I think David was made that way. Michelangelo said he just removed everything that wasn't David, and there he was. So I can liken that to myself and my life. I'm also sharing this experience because I've become aware in life that my focus is very powerful. What I focus on is magnified. And I really want to be focused on being a part of the solution in the world, and affecting the lives of other people, being focused on what works and what's good. I've become very clear that focusing on things that don't feel good create more things that don't feel good. So, not that those things aren't important. Some people are meant to focus on those things, but being clear to what it is that I'm supposed to focus on. I know I'm supposed to focus on loving animals, loving people, developing compassion, being able to see someone else's viewpoint, appreciating differences in others, and focusing on what it is that brings us together and not separates us. And so I believe that sharing my process authentically, openly, transparent, that can help other people with their focus. And I believe purpose is very important, and when we're able to accept ourselves and what our purpose is, and that it doesn't look like someone else's purpose. I really believe that this world works better if everyone's able to step into that authenticity, who they actually are, what they are actually interested in, what's important to them, and really hone in on it and sort of let everything else fall to the wayside. It's been my experience that leads to a real zeal and excitement for life. And, not that challenges don't occur, but my ability to walk through those challenges when I'm focused on what it is that I'm passionate about and what my gifts are and what I believe my purpose is. Um, I really think that is my way to be the answer in the world. So, like they say, change begins with us. Change begins with me. So I am committed to um, being as free as I possibly can, to helping others be as free as they can, and step into the joy of life. When I was a kid, I heard a scripture, and it was actually about the Apostle Paul, and he was in prison and he was singing. And I thought, gosh, how could you be in prison in pain and cold and oppressed and sing? And he said, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I started to look into joy. And no matter what it is that you believe, my point is that joy doesn't depend on our circumstances. It depends on what flows in us. And I have found that when I tap into what my inner guidance system is telling me, that I experience that joy that's beyond my circumstance. I am able to genuinely be grateful in situations that I couldn't be grateful in before. I have the goal and continue to experience more and more of an ability to experience that joy, even in circumstances that I could use as an excuse to be in a different state. So, some of the things that I plan to discuss are, meditation and, spiritual development, whether that means coming to know a source greater than yourself, God, how that applies in life, what it is that you're passionate about, how to develop that, books that I've read that have changed my life, and teachers that share their experience and tools, all the ways that I experience more freedom, and my daily practices, and just to share where I'm at. So I hope that's helpful to you. I'm excited about developing daily check-ins, certainly several times a week, to let you know what's going on and to share my experience, because that's the one thing I'm an expert on, is my experience. And I believe that everyone needs a little joy in their life, and I am a little joy, and I'm excited about what's to come. So wherever you are, whatever you're experiencing, I hope this helped to lift you and give you some hope. Hope is needed in the world, and I look forward to getting to know you better. Check out the other videos that I've posted. I'll list a few in the descriptions and link them that you can go to after this. Enjoy your day.